Welcome back, everyone. Going into the third hour here of RollPlay Swan Song Week 14. Adam, what's up?
All right, so Prosper and Mr. Sicarian are headed where exactly?
The bridge.
To the bridge.
Yeah, to the bridge? Okay, do you want to get there fast or do you want to get there safe?
I mean, I guess I would assume it's, fast, but if I hear a robot stomping ahead, I'm not going to just be like, well, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that at no point are you going to just, like, barrel on ahead, but, I mean, you can be quick about it, you can be careful about it, you can be somewhere in between.
I guess he knows we have 11-ish hours, so he's being somewhere in between.
Okay.
But he's being urgent about it.
I think we might prioritize fast at this point, because we've got all the firepower.
Okay.
By the way, Adam,
yes.
I did stop and pick up all my gear at the Swan Song.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say getting them all strapped in, getting your gear, doing all that dicking around, plus combat has taken about an hour, so it's 10 hours. T-minus 10 hours now. Okay, so you're saying you want to be faster than usual when you're heading for the bridge? Like take a more direct route?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you make a luck check for me?
Same either way. I'll do it this time, Sicarian. Oh, shit!
Too late. The die is cast. Ilya
shit.
Yakta. All right. So is that a success, Karen? What's your
No, it's not.
Just by a little bit. Okay. All right. So
Mine's
it takes
13.
Yeah, would have needed 13.
Okay. So it's T-minus 9 hours when you arrive. And when you get to the bridge is generally accessed only by the like turbo lifts, whatever, the elevators.
Mhm.
So you get to where the closest access point to the bridge is, and you have to pry open these like elevator doors to get into the tunnel. Below the bridge, there's just a regular like officer quarter deck, and it looks like it's been abandoned recently. Like there's signs of like still smoking like blast points on the walls, a couple of dead bodies, several destroyed drones, one of the Charlemagne class destroyer robots blown up. There was a fight here within like the last hour, like while you were on
Does
your
it
way.
seem like there's a direction where they would have taken the bodies?
You can make a perception check to get a closer view of that. Try to figure
Can
out.
I help?
Yeah, sure. You guys can CSI the scene a little bit.
I don't help.
Okay. You're helpless.
Prosper's like, I take this white flag and I tie it around my eyeballs.
Okay. So, yeah, it looks like they headed towards, like the back of the same deck, which is where the officers' mess is. It's like the cafeteria for the officers.
So I press on then.
Fortify that. Okay. All right. So, yeah, you guys have this like elevator door in front of you, and you just need to get in there and climb up the elevator shaft to the entrance of the bridge.
That's what I do then.
Okay. Make a strength test.
Strength, not
Athletics.
Strength.
Dexterity?
Athletics, if you have it, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Prosper. You're not helpful at all, Prosper. You break a nail. Okay, so there is some resistance. It takes a little while to like wedge it open, but eventually, yeah, you get it. You get it open.
Okay.
And yeah, so you can look in. There's the shaft runs like up and down. It's a pretty like straight drop below you, and then there's the ladder that's like built into the wall.
Sicarian, we can put our backs together and then walk up the wall.
It's a little big to chimney, but yeah.
It will be great. Here I go. I climb the ladder.
Okay, all right. So the both of you climb up the ladder. And
Yeah.
follow Sicarian. Okay, all right. So yeah, it takes you like 10 minutes to climb up to the next deck. The door on the inside is closed here, but there's like an emergency control you can pull to open it.
Is this the
We
bridge?
do that.
Okay, yeah, this is the bridge.
Okay.
Okay, so you pull it. The door opens about a third of the way in the middle, and then you hear like laser weapons go off, and you can see like shots get fired through the hole. It's not the like Gatling weapon that the big guys have, and it's not the like ripping sound of the plasma weapons. Like someone is shooting, or multiple someones are shooting laser rifles at the door, the now open door.
I
They
say,
stop. They stop after a second.
Mr. Oswezer, or what was his name?
Ossuary.
Mr. Ossuary. It is the cook. Cease fire, please.
Okay, there's like a long pause. You hear some like murmuring, and then a voice. What do you mean the cook?
The guy at the dinner, just please stop firing. clearly not a robot.
Okay, you can come up.
Then I pull myself up and help Mr. Prosper up as well.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And then what do we see when we enter in there?
So you step off out of the elevator shaft, and you look, and the deck. It's like you would expect the deck of like a starship to be. There's a long gangplank that leads up to a front like viewing screen, like several huge screens. There's a recessed area with workstations where the crew of the ship will like sit, and then in the middle and like raised up, there's a like a captain's like platform, and then several like nav platforms at the front. But it's been barricaded, so there's like you're standing in front of a barricade that comes about like shoulder high, made out of like furniture and like desks and stuff that look hastily welded together. And then about 20 or 30 meters down the gangplank, close to the other end, there's another like smaller barricade, and you can see people like leaned up on it with rifles. And Mr. Ossuary is like standing with one boot up on the barricade, like looking out, trying to catch a glimpse of you as you come.
I speak up to him, then I say, Mr. Ossuary, I don't think we've met before yet, not properly anyways. My name is Mr. Sicarian, and my friend here is Mr. Prosper, and he is trained in matters such as this and has advice that we need to unify for if we're going to stand a chance against the war mine.
So when you say, and Prosper, you notice this when he says like, I'm Mr. Sicarian, like the people pointing the guns like immediately start like looking at each other like, what the fuck? And like start like whispering. And Ossuary is like, yeah, I know who you are. I thought I recognized you. I don't know or care who your friend is, but this is as safe a place as any on my ship. Please, close the door. Come over here.
I do as much, but I say, you are aware that the war mine intends to destroy the Indones.
So you're saying that as you like walk over?
As I'm closing the door, yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's like, the war mine. Is that what it calls itself? Interesting. Its behavior was not what I expected. Please, come here. I will... There's much to explain.
Yeah, I follow his order, or his, suggestion.
His request. Okay.
Yeah.
Join.
Okay. There's a woman with him, dressed in a different outfit. Like, she's not a naval officer, but she's an Fotenhauer officer nonetheless. She's wearing the uniform of the intelligence division.
I inquire with the name that we were given.
Yeah.
Omelette
Madame
comes to mind, but I'm
Oubliette.
guessing her name is not Omelette.
Oubliette, yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Mrs. Omelette, good to see you.
She's yes, I am Oubliette. And the captain, yeah, she's got a Caberlet's accent. She kind of gives you a nod. The captain says, and again, like the officers, the dudes up with the guns, like watch as Sicarian goes by, and he takes you over to one of the like view screens, and outside,
not that big a deal.
outside you can see the visual feed coming from drive space. It's the like weird bent kaleidoscope of like weird drive space. But have either of you? I mean, Sicarian, you probably have, but Prosper, have you ever been on a ship with like a really powerful spike drive before?
I don't think so.
Okay,
But, like probably not this powerful.
Okay, make a mental effect save for me.
Just loses sanity right there. Ah!
No, I need to know how his brain reacts.
Strips down naked, runs
This is
out.
going to be
screaming.
awful. I'm
Okay.
fucked.
All right, so it's not so much as like it's not like you go insane or like whatever, but like you find yourself like it's hard to tear your like gaze away from the weird kaleidoscope, and you could swear that you're like hearing or seeing things. So you get minor synesthesia from staring at it. Like after a while, you get like a kind of coppery taste in your mouth, and you hear like pipes or something. And then when you finally manage to look away, that all kind of fades as the after effects of staring at the...
I noticed there's just blood pouring down my chin. My eardrums have
No, you're
burst.
fine.
Like,
It's just mildly disorienting.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Ossuary says to you, Mr. Sicarian, he's like, if I had only had a few more minutes at dinner, I would have recognized you there. But now that I see you, and do you have your mask down?
Yep.
He's like, you're not so big as they say. But you're alive, and so that's something. So, what's then? What Titan told us? You're not dead. I see that. We can save the truth of the matter till we both survive this. He looks at Prosper.
Mr. Oswary.
Yeah, he looks at Prosper, and he says, so you are the Maltech expert.
Expert is a stretch. I'm a Maltech advisor. I think I may have come up with a way to break the war mind. But I was speaking with your science officer, Miss Mesa, and she said that we would need the help of Madame Oubliette, and I just sort of nod to the, intelligence officer next to him, in order to pull off the plan.
He says, so you want to break it? You think that's going to help?
If we can break it, then we can interrupt the routines that it's currently running. And at that point, it will be much more under our control, under your control. Additionally, and I understand that this is an object that we have delivered into your care, but I have contacts which might be able to help you learn more about this device. Move it in the direction you prefer.
Oubliette kind of looks at you, and she's like, I know all about these contacts you have. They can't help. They're not invited to this party. And then she looks at Ossuary, and Ossuary says, if we break it, how does that affect the operation? And she shrugs slightly and says, we're at about 79% now. By the time we get to Andoni, it'll be done if we don't get in the way. And he kind of looks at her, and he's like, it's risky. And we've come this far, and what's happened? Well, I'd like to continue, but how many hours do we have? And she says, just over 9. And then he looks at the two of you, and he says, so what did you have in mind? We break the AI, and then what?
Well, and then we have time.
Well, I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to keep trying to keep my men alive, and Oubliette, do what you can for them. And he walks back over to where the guys are at the barricade.
As he starts to walk away, I say, Mr. Osware, I'll help you as well.
He looks at you, and he says, good, tell me everything you've seen so far. And so he's looking just basically for a debriefing of what you've been up to on the ship for the last 10 hours.
Systematically go through the capabilities and the control and stuff like that.
Okay.
The encounter in the core, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he spends a lot of time asking you questions about what the core was like and all of that stuff. And in the meantime, Oubliette and Prosper, you have a chance to sit down at one of the nav panels.
Just being perceptive, she seems rather cool towards me, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
Could you get that impression? Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, I sit down, and based on the 12 I rolled at the beginning of the session, I just begin running through, sort of this crazy half-brained, half-cocked idea that I got from studying Maltech at Maltech University, Cabral, USA, or whatever.
Okay. So
it's clear to me that, Prosper has intuited from their conversation that Warmind is distracted because it's doing something for them. They want to keep it doing that thing for them. They're not particularly disturbed about the potential destruction of Andoni. So, I'm trying to walk a very thin line, right, where it's like, okay, if we break it, it's under your control. It's in a place where you can, move it in a direction that would be more productive for your purposes and less destructive to, everything. And also I'm making the point that there's a lot of heat that can potentially come down on them for having an object like this, as she fucking well knows, right?
Yeah.
I'm not like, did you know that AI are really bad?
Technically, ma'am, this is illegal. So.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever all of that gets boiled down into a persuade roll.
So what are you trying to persuade her to do exactly?
Break the AI.
Okay. Right.
So that they have time to finish what they're trying to do without destroying a planet to get it done.
Okay. So I think that she tells you, she says, obviously the side effects of this operation were unintended. And if we can finish what we need to do while we're in spike drive space, that would be preferable.
Is there any way to slow down the travel?
Maybe. It has control over the core, so we'd have to get past its defenses if we were to do that.
What kind of defenses?
I feel like that's possible, but I can't promise you anything.
No.
And if we have to start over from scratch, Andoni's not my prime concern. I'm going to be honest with you. The entity, Warmind, you said?
So that's what it calls itself.
It's incredibly ancient. It knows things that the captain and Pfotenhauer would like to know. Important information.
You think you can get this information from it?
We are 86% done now. There are blocks in place, though. It comes and goes. We've had to restart several times. The thing is not strong, but it's determined. And if we break it, I don't know, it might self-destruct, and God only knows what'll happen if it does that. So it's a risk I'm not sure I'm willing to take for your sake, or for the sake of anyone living on Andoni, for that matter. There's, 90,000 people there?
Well, it is not small, but any loss of life and this search for answers is to be weighed and measured. Maybe there is another way. What kind of defenses were you referring to in the car? Because Sicarian and I walked in with few problems earlier. Warmind believes now that I am a high priest that will serve it. My apologies.
I'm sure whatever insane conversation you had to try to convert the Warmind to your pathetic religion, I don't care how they went. Warmind is very intent on keeping us out of its mind, not its physical body. The nanite shield would prevent any kind of normal arms fire from making its way in there anyway. Besides, its self-destruction is what I'm concerned about. Look,
concerning?
I'm gonna level with you. I don't care what happens to Andoni. I don't care what happens to you or your crew or anyone on this ship for that matter. I don't care what happens to me or Ossuary. I'm mandated to get the information out of the core of that artificial intelligence, and that's it. Primary consideration. All other considerations rescinded.
You don't happen to care if you die in the course of pursuing this activity?
She shakes her head. Some things are more important than human life, Mr. Trudeau.
I am intrigued. What can we do to slow the ship down?
Well, the only thing that I can think of that we could use to fight the artificial intelligence is another artificial intelligence. But she puts her hands up. So, barring that, I don't know. An insane computer wizard? Some kind of miracle? A second scream? I don't know. We have our hands tied here.
A second scream? Do I know what she's referring to?
Well, like, the scream is the thing that, like, basically ruined humanity. She was being facetious.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah, no, it's just Warhammer 40,000. Okay, good.
Yeah, it was the thing that cut off all the sectors from Earth and, like, all that stuff.
Yeah, Prosper has a very straight face through all of this. He just sort of furrows his brow. What would a computer expert be able to do?
Outthink it, maybe? But this person would have to be incredibly talented and very focused, and certainly we have no one like that on the crew. And
I presume that they would need to know more about Maltec than you or I.
She kind of gives you a look like, well, that would be difficult, but yes, I suppose so. It would help.
I know someone who's quite adept at computers, but I don't know if they are number one in the universe adept. Now, if you had another AI, how would that help? What would you do?
The Warmind is missing certain components, elements of its personality core. Right now, it's like an animal. It just wants to feed and to mate and to reproduce and to destroy. In the case of the Warmind, it's what drives it. Every AI has a core like this.
Wait.
And if we could leverage another AI's pieces against it, find some way to merge the two of them, then we'd have access to it directly. But it would be incredibly dangerous. We may end up just making it more powerful. It's all theoretical. It's never happened in human history before. You should know this.
Of course, I do. We are simply having a
was testing- I was
conversation
making
for the
sure you
benefit
knew.
of the audience. Of course.
Right.
Now, very well. Now that is all about slowing down the war mind. What about slowing down the spike drive? Is there any way to shift us into a higher level of spike space that would slow us down and cause us to take longer to reach Andoni? You could get the information you needed, we could break the AI, and then we don't have to blow up a planet. And nobody has to find out that you have a very powerful and ancient AI aboard your ship.
She kind of looks at you. That sounded like blackmail. Am I mishearing you? Are you threatening to tell people we have an AI? You, of all people?
Madame Oubliette, you are in possession of an AI core that has no inhibitions and is only trying to destroy. You are in possession of a battleship with enough munitions to wipe out 90,000 people, and you think I am threatening you?
She puts her hands up.
No.
Listen, we have bigger issues right now.
I am afraid I am only trying to save 90,000 people and get you the information that you need.
I don't like you, Mr. Trudeau.
I can.
He's like, I hear that a lot.
She says you're arrogant, and I know your organization. They're fanatics. And frankly, if this doesn't go well and I'm still alive, the next place I'm going to point the war mind is the Ferugi system, but we'll talk about that when we get there. As for slowing the ship down, that might work. There's several places in the ship where the fuel systems interact with the core. If you could sever those fuel lines, we might be able to drop into a space closer to reality. That would extend the time that it would take for us to travel by a lot. It would buy us time. If we can finish the operation, download the information that we need, you can do whatever you want with the war mind after that. Well,
Very well.
within reason. The only thing is, and she kind of looks down and looks over at Sicarian, most of the fuel lines are on the outside of the ship.
I don't see why that should be a problem. My friend has a vac suit.
So, meanwhile, Piani, what have you been doing for this hour while they're up there?
Well, I mean, I think I want to be able to basically assist in any way possible for the braking.
Okay.
And then also the slowing down. And Pi did mention that he could, at least talk me through some things. So if there's any, I guess I want to scout the hangar for terminals while still keeping an eye on the med bay.
Okay. I mean, from here, if you want to start building up some kind of protocol for potentially breaking the AI, that's something that Pi can work with you on, just from the ship.
Okay. Then
that you can use that as a role to help whoever's going to be doing the breaking. It might just be you later, but you can bank a +1 if you want.
that's great. That'd be great.
Okay, make a computer test.
Okay. Nine.
Okay, so while you're doing this, so this is during the hour while the others are getting up to the bridge. Pi is being helpful, but a couple of times is they're like, I don't like this. This makes me nervous. I remember that place.
It makes me nervous too, but you have to trust me, Pi.
I think that I do, but what you're doing feels wrong to me.
How's it feel wrong?
We shouldn't put the war mind in that place again. Even with what it wants to do, it isn't right. I'll help you if you say it's what we have to do, but I don't like it.
You said that the thing you care about the most was the crew of the Swan Song.
That's why I'm helping you.
It's the only way, my child. It's the only way that we'll be able to save the ship at this point, and maybe even thousands of people.
If we have to do it, then we'll do it, but I want you to know I don't like this.
I just imagine it's a Telltale game, and if we do it, it'll be like, Pi will remember that.
Dude, everything you guys say and do.
I know, right?
Okay, but Pi is showing I don't want to do this, but I care about you and I'm gonna do I'll help you. But you get the impression that like if it comes down to like the moment of truth, Pi might not be able to like do it. They're definitely hesitant.
So I feel like I need to have this conversation with Prosper. Like he has to really understand this because
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean,
so-
yeah, you guys can have that. We'll have that conversation once everybody syncs up again.
okay.
I want to. So, Sicarian, after you give your report to Mr. Ossuary, he gives you a tactical rundown of the ship. Tells you how, like, obviously this thing got a pretty solid understanding of the way the ship works and the important decks. But he also mentions, like, why didn't it just flush us out? Like, why aren't we all just in space now? And he also mentions to you the same thing that Oubliette tells Prosper, that like, yeah, if we could get a crew outside on the outside of the ship, there's some fuel point access that we could cut off, and you might be able to like slow the ship down. But his engineering team, like they're gone. Like there's nobody to do it.
I start bouncing ideas off him, like if they can keep a direct line to me, or if we can get someone in a fighter ship or something like that, if they could do that. I bounce ideas off him like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he says, well, I mean, Miss Mesa would be the best one to talk to about the details of a plan like that. But, yeah, I mean, all you have to do is go out there and follow certain, like, engineering protocols, like disconnect things in a certain order, and, he can give permissions from here, but direct exposure, even with a suit to drive space, is very dangerous.
Yeah. That's right.
You're risking not your body, but there's things that they don't understand about drive space. And
I forgot we were in that space. Yeah. I say, is there alternatives then? Internal.
He says, not really. Like there's, you could try to destroy the core, but that might just self-destruct the ship. It's just really dangerous with the way that the Warmind has so much control over the various subsystems. You all kind of come to the same conclusion where it's like, yeah, if you had a shit-hot hacker, he doesn't know anything about AI. He just kind of goes off what Oubliette tells him. But he's like, yeah, if someone could break their way into the ship's controls, then they could do something about it. But
When I say, is there any way to get a direct access to that manually?
he said you said you were in the core, yes? That was it. I understand it has some kind of nanite shield. Perhaps, but it would be incredibly dangerous. All of our options are at this point. Frankly, if we can wade through the operation, I can get the data I need, and we can do whatever we want with it. Get to Andoni and jettison the thing.
Well, what's the timetable,
Let
though?
it do what it wants.
Do we have time to do your operation before we get to Andoni?
I hope so. 9 hours should be enough. Do you want to ask him what he's trying to do, or do you just not care?
I guess I do kind of, like, as we're having these tactical conversations back and forth, I just kind of mentioned, like, you guys keep referring to this operation. What exactly is being executed here?
He says, he's like, well, the details are not clear to me, but I understand that this artificial intelligence is very old and had some access to astrogational data that we don't currently have, star charts. And he like looks around to see if anyone else is listening, and he's like, well, you're a ghost anyway, so me telling you this won't matter, and besides, we might already just be dead. And he kind of like leans in and he's like, I believe that this thing can lead us to Earth. Or at least to another sector. And, well, if we were to do that, well, it would be a big deal. We'll just say that. Access to systems lost for several thousand years. Who knows what we would find there? It's a conquest. It would be worthy of history.
I agree. Just let's remain clear on this. It's hypothetical, and while the possibilities of this are incredibly important, I don't disagree with you on that. We're weighing that versus the lives of 90,000 real people that could die for absolutely nothing. So
he kind of squints at you. He's like, 90,000 people. You balk at this number, Mr. Sicarian.
I balk at it versus the idea of hypothetical information, and I also know that the group has a proud tradition. Perhaps taking such a gamble is not necessarily in its best interest.
I think that the High Command thinks this as well, and that's why they sent me. I'm a gambler, Mr. Sicarian. I like taking risks.
Duly noted.
He's putting it all on black. So, so if you guys want to get in touch with the crew,